10 remarkably rich people who live humbly. The number of billionaires has dramatically increased over the past several years. And while most of them are rather flashy and like to flaunt their wealth, there are also many who live their lives in a low-key manner. Welcome to Best Wonders, where today we'll be showing you our list of the top 10 remarkably rich people who lead humble lives. But before we continue, be sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you get more videos like this. Now, let's move on to the video. Number 10. Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is the embodiment of the American self-made guy. He purchased his first stock market share at the age of 11 and a small farm at the age of just 14. He is regarded as one of the greatest investors in history and is currently among the wealthiest people in the world. But he continues to settle down in the modest 3-bedroom home where he got married 50 years ago in Midtown Omaha in Nebraska. He insists that he doesn't need to move and that his existing home already meets all of his needs. Even though he is the owner of one of the largest private jet firms in the world, he always flies in economy, drives his own car, and has never had a personal driver. It's been speculated that he's never had or used a smartphone and computer, but thankfully, he started using an iPhone 11 after having his Samsung SCHU320 flip phone. Warren is also the owner of 63 incredibly successful businesses and is a very unique type of billionaire. That type of CEO who writes letters to his executives. That's probably why they're so successful. Buffett is so frugal because he simply enjoys the simple life. He has said that the happiest people are not those who necessarily have the best possessions, but instead simply appreciate what they have, which seems to be the philosophy he lives by. Buffett feels no need to spend a lot of money or to shake hands with a big society. Number 9. Chuck Feeney. Chuck Feeney originally made his fortune by co-founding the duty-free shoppers empire. But despite his incredible wealth, he lives a very normal and modest life. And he does more than that. He has been dubbed the secret billionaire because he is very good at not drawing attention to himself. If you see him walking down the street, you'll not even notice he's there because he looks like an average, day-to-day senior citizen. He discreetly established the Atlantic Philanthropies in 1982, and he put practically all of his wealth into it. He gave enormous donations to charities and universities around the world for 38 years, to the point where when he turned 89, he revealed that he was finally bankrupt and that this had been his lifelong goal. With his own labor and sweat, this man earned a fortune, and his aim was to donate it to those in need. He once spoke to the upper class and advised them to enjoy the thrill of giving away their money now, rather than waiting till they were gone. The most endearing aspect of it all is that he didn't want anyone to know what he was doing. Instead, he did it out of genuine concern for people. Number 8. Ingvar Kamprad. When he was just 17 years old, Ingvar Kamprad founded the furniture juggernaut known as IKEA. He had no idea that he was developing the most well-known furniture company in history. He's the 4th richest man in the world according to Forbes' billionaire list. But he continued to lead a frugal lifestyle despite creating one of the most renowned businesses ever. He continued to drive his 20-year-old Volvo and to fly coach. But his concern with saving money extends far beyond these things. He seemed to have purchased his clothing at the flea market. He merely explained that it was in his nature to be frugal when questioned about it. Since they charged him 22 euros for a haircut in the Netherlands, he refused to spend large amounts of money for a haircut. He decided to always get his hair trimmed in underdeveloped nations, like Vietnam for instance. The principles of Ingvar's frugal mindset are even explained in a brief pamphlet titled The Testament of a Furniture Dealer, which IKEA staff continue to uphold even after his passing. Kamprad considered resource waste to be a grave sin. Unfortunately, he passed away in January of 2018. To this day, he's an inspiration to many. Number 7. Tony Hsieh. Tony Hsieh is a living proof that it is possible to build a successful business while also being a good guy with strong morals and a charming personality. He founded Zappos.com, an online retailer of shoes. But for his staff, it was more than that, since Say used a completely unique and groundbreaking method of business management, which was relationship-centered, in accordance with the company's philosophy. The goal was to develop and maintain relationships with others based on mutual respect and gain. His objective was to build a lasting relationship with his clients, than to amass wealth. When they didn't have the pair of shoes someone was seeking for, Zappos employees would even go so far as to refer them to one of their competitors who did have it because of his passion for being helpful. Sadly, he passed unexpectedly following a devastating house fire. But when he was still alive, he motivated countless new businesses to succeed and inspired millions of people. He demonstrated that good intentions and love are more significant than destroying your rivals in order to succeed. Number 6. Amancio Ortega. Although you may not be familiar with his name, you have probably heard of his company. I'm referring to Zara, a Spanish high street retail giant that today has stores on every continent but was once just a small shop in the city of A Coruña. Even though he held the title of richest man in the world for a long time, he always led a very secluded and modest life. He only gave 3 interviews during his career and only consented to being photographed by the media once, and that was back in 1999. He never left his birthplace of A Coruña, where he regularly has his morning coffee at the same cafe. He always wore the same plain suit with no tie to work, and loved having lunch with his co-workers every day at the company cafeteria. He always dresses in a very casual and modest manner since he dislikes being the center of attention. Although he's one of the most enigmatic billionaires in history, we do know that horseback riding is one of his favorite activities, even though he only gets engaged in it sometimes, because he is rumored to be a compulsive workaholic who enjoyed going to work too much. Number 5. Tim Cook. Tim Cook is the CEO of Apple, and everyone who knows him agrees that he's remarkably straightforward, much like the product he sells. Cook, a self-described workaholic, loves to talk about his work rather than himself, and gets up early, and by early I mean 3:45 a.m., and manages to answer 800 emails every day. He is very quiet and doesn't think of himself as being intriguing enough to pay attention to. He prefers simple things like scrambled egg whites, bacon, sugar-free cereal, and unsweetened almond milk for breakfast. Despite being a very demanding boss, all of his employees claim that he is the ideal one. He constantly works together and treats everyone with respect. He's the first one to arrive at work and the last one to leave. And in his spare time, he likes to be outside and go biking. On top of that, he works out at an outdoor gym every morning at 5 a.m. Despite being one of the most successful CEOs in the world, he still puts in a lot of effort and treats his employees fairly. Number 4. Carlos Slim. Mexican business billionaire Carlos Slim Hilu was born to Lebanese immigrants. He amassed a sizable telecom empire that made him one of the world's richest men. But despite his wealth, he leads a modest life and has lived in the same house for more than 40 years. He also doesn't own a private jet or a yacht. According to Forbes, he is a self-made man whose fortune is estimated to be worth $51 billion. And it all began when he was just 10 years old, and he started selling drinks and sweets to his family and friends. He always maintained a preference for the simple pleasures in life. Despite being the richest man in his country, he keeps his monthly salary to $24,000 and maintains a low profile. He also funds education and health initiatives through 2 foundations he founded, and has stated that his life's purpose is to fight against poverty. He continues to pour billions of dollars into his nation each year to kickstart the economy and for the benefit of millions of people. Number 3. David Sheraton. A professor at Stanford University with an estimated net worth of $9.4 billion, David Sheraton invested $100,000 in Google shares when it was just getting started, and the rest is history. Since then, He has co-founded 3 additional businesses: Arista Networks, Granite Systems, and Kialia. All 3 of these businesses are very successful and doing well, but he is the exact opposite of the stereotype of a greedy, flashy billionaire. In fact, he takes offense at the idea of the so-called billionaire lifestyle. He claims that there is something wrong with those who construct houses with numerous bathrooms, jacuzzis, and other lavish facilities. His own remarks show that he's not sorry about the situation. His most recent indulgence was a purchase of a Honda Odyssey back in 2012. He claims to feel spoiled every time he travels, which is quite rare. He is one of the most modest billionaires alive today and despises the label. In other words, you'd never guess in a million years that he's wealthy if you saw him walking down the street. Number 2. Karl Albrecht. Karl Albrecht is a co-founder of Aldi, one of the largest supermarket conglomerates in Europe. We have Walmart, and Europe has Aldi. Together with his late brother Theo, he founded Aldi. They both had very modest parents who brought them up. Their father worked in the coal mines, while their mother ran a store. Karl paid a $4 million ransom for the kidnapping of Theo in 1971, which he later deducted as a business expenditure. Karl grew up in post-war Germany, where basic commodities were extremely limited, and people were accustomed to living on a tight budget. Even after the economy recovered, most Germans continued to be fairly frugal. The word Aldi is an acronym for Albrecht Discount, which helped them achieve their fundamental goal of selling goods at the lowest possible rates. Yet neither of the 2 brothers went on to become flamboyant billionaires. They maintained their brand's image of providing products at reasonable prices for people who cannot afford pricey foods, as they lead to humble lives. Number 1. Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was not born with a silver spoon in his mouth, despite the fact that he would one day become one of the wealthiest business people in the world. In actuality, Jobs' natural parents gave him up for adoption. After first agreeing to take Jobs from his biological mother, the first family broke their word. Jobs was reared by the parents who eventually adopted him as a newborn in quite simple circumstances. Jobs was raised in a simple home in a then unremarkable neighborhood in Cupertino, Northern California. Jobs would not have realized it at the time, but the home and the small garage in it would one day be regarded as the location of the founding of Apple Inc. Steve Jobs spent the last 20 years of his life in a regular country house in Palo Alto. Although the house is larger than your typical suburban house and relatively expensive at around $4 million, it does not stand out in the wealthy city of Palo Alto and is a testament to Jobs' modest lifestyle. Despite his net worth of over $8 billion, his garden had no walls, and he did not even lock the front door. I was worth over $1 million when I was 23, over $10 million when I was 24, and over $100 million when I was 25. But it wasn't that important because I never did it for the money, as Steve Jobs once said. He passed away in 2011, but still lives on impactfully in the modern world with his inspiration and knowledge. Who do you look up to most in this list? Any other billionaires who live humble lives? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell for more of the world's best wonders.